Right, hi guys. Okay, so just focusing on the base now, that's pretty much done up until this stage where we're actually going to put GHAZGHKULL on this base and then we'll do the dry brushing around him. Okay, so I've used some copper, some Skaven Bright Dinge, some Mephiston Red as discussed, and a couple of shades, which is Carabog Crimson and Douchey Violet. Now, I'm going to talk about what we've done there. So if you look in, the helmet, like we mentioned, is going to be Blood Angels, which we've done. That is a single coating of Mephiston Red, 2 parts water, 1 part paint. Let that dry thoroughly. Then the Carabog Crimson over the top. The ammunition casing that you see on the base there, that's done in copper, and a nifty little trick a friend of mine, Pete, told me was if you use a purple wash over a gold or a copper, it gives you a real depth. So I don't know if that'll focus there. Let's have a look. Possibly. Yeah, that's neat. So it gives you some real depth to the shell casings, a lot of detail. On the masonry, as we mentioned, it is a really neat little wash of Skaven Bright Dinge, 2 parts water, 1 part paint. That goes all the way around the miniature. Like we mentioned, let that dry thoroughly. Reason we're not going to do any super detailed work on it now is essentially because the GHAZGHKULL THRAKA miniature is quite big, so when it sits on top of the actual base, you want to work around it because some of it's naturally going to be in shade anyway. Okay. Hi guys, right, okay, onto the main GHAZGHKULL THRAKA model. So, as you can see, I've undercoated both sides of the sprue with a silver undercoat spray, which is Lead Belcher from Citadel. So the best way to use that spray is to keep it warm before you spray it. So I advise sticking it on the radiator for 10 minutes. Probably doesn't say that on the tin, but go with it. Allow it to warm up, then give it a really good shake for no less than about 3 minutes, and then keep the distance about 30 centimetres. The way you want to use it is basically across, like so. Rotate the sprue, do it again. Rotate the sprue, do it again. Rotate the sprue, do it again. And that'll give you a nice, neat coverage. At that stage as well, just let it settle, let it dry a little bit, turn the sprue over, repeat the process. And what you have is a nice, neat coat. None of the detail has been sort of expulged by too much paint. Nice and clean, and that allows us then to cut the parts out of the sprue and stick the miniature together. You'll see the completed miniature on the next video. Right, wow. Fair play, Games Workshop. I was pretty intimidated if you look at my initial video about putting this thing together because it is super complex. However, if you follow the manual, you won't go wrong. It's actually pretty straightforward to put together. It is a let's just drop it. It's a wonderfully sculpted, designed miniature. Absolutely the centerpiece of any orc army. Brilliant. It'll mention in the pamphlet how to put it together, but one of the key things is to leave the head and the sort of the jawbone or the reinforced metal jawbone outside of the actual miniature, and we're gonna touch these right at the end. In the meantime, we're going to do some dry brushing on this, so that's going to be the next video. What we will first do though is put an overall wash and shade over the silver parts there. What I've done is I've sprayed, as we mentioned before, the sprues and then put it together based on there. What you might find is there's a couple of areas that you need to touch up before you then put the shading on, but that's not an issue, and we'll talk about that shortly.